What do you? What do you know? What do you know about?
Hi,
Hello, it's so nice to meet you.
Nina. It's so nice to finally get to meet you, and I'm so excited to be doing this for the Flute New Music Consortium. Congratulations for being named the winner of the solo category with your zoo song for singing flutist.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm so excited and I'm really honored to be part of this. And yeah, it's funny because my piece was such a crazy piece. So I was like, wow, my piece is kind of I think of it as like a joke piece almost, but like in a fun way. And I was like, well, I guess people like to have fun. And so I was very honored.
I like to have fun. No, it's a very cool, interesting piece. I had never heard it before this interview, so I was very excited to come across the video. Hannah Weiss did the world premiere.
Yeah, yeah. So she commissioned the piece last year. She's finishing up her doctorate at University of Miami, and I know her from when I was an undergrad at University of Michigan. She was in. I was a flutist also, and I was in the flute studio with Amy Porter, and she was in my studio, and so I met her there, and then we were friends, and then it's always nice when friends, want to play each other's work and collaborate, and so she'd come to me saying that she was doing one of her DMA recitals and said she wanted a piece, and I wanted to do something kind of fun, and I told her, oh, I might do something a little wonky, and then I don't know if she knew how wonky it was going to get. She always jokes about that, but then yeah, it's funny because her personality, she's like so fun and funny, but like she really gets into character.
I mean, that piece, you have to be in character to persuade your audience. So this zoo song, I would have never thought of everything you did. So we really need to talk about that work. So I was really wondering, what was your inspiration behind it? How did you come up with the concept of zoo song, or was there anything that you specifically thought of and you came up with that idea?
Yeah, so I always am very much like a kid at heart. And so it's funny, whenever I write pieces, I tend to alternate between like for me, I think when I write, always emotional connection with my audience is like the most important. And so I tend to write like either like very serious, like personal pieces, or like super crazy, fun, happy pieces like that. And so this is one of those. And I always loved, when I was a kid, going to the zoo, and I loved hearing all the different animal sounds, and I would try to make the animal sounds, and then of course my parents would get annoyed because I was like, trying to caw like some chicken or something, not very well. And I always wanted to do a piece that was for children, like it's a difficult piece to play. There's a lot of extended techniques in it, but I think like any audience could grasp, I feel like animal sounds are pretty universal. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
and, and so what was interesting is when I was like conceptualizing the piece, I mean, because I'm a flutist, so I'm pretty familiar with different sounds you can make on the flute. And I kind of was thinking almost like little like leitmotifs, like almost like with like like, oh da da da, oh this is like Siegfried, or like some character or something. Yeah, exactly. Right. And so then I was trying to think, I was like pairing different extended techniques and like, well, oh, what does this sound like? And like, oh, maybe like a jet whistle sounds like a whale or something like that. And then as that morphed, they became like little patterns and little figures. And so then every time in the piece that would come, like you would know when you hear like a jet whistle that, oh, that's the whale or something. And I also, because I do a lot of pieces with my own text, and so I I love writing, and I think that like when you write something with your own text, I think it's just that much more personal, rather than like using somebody else's poem. And so I kind of I just basically wrote like a children's little story, like a children's book. And then like the text is just like a frenetic kid trying to be every single animal, and then being sad that like, oh no, I can't be the chicken, I can't be, you know, a pig, but then I can be me. And so something kind of like really sweet like that. And yeah, I really wanted to write something that was really fun and something that was challenging, but like I think fun to play and fun for the listener, and something that would really stretch Hannah, my performer, really stretch what she normally did and let her go out of her comfort zone.
Nina, tell us a little bit about yourself and your musical background and some of your current activities. Like, where are you now? Are you traveling for performances?
Yeah, so I grew up in a non-musical family. My parents are both science people, and in my family, nobody had really done music. I mean, my brother and I were probably the first in our family, and I had grown up playing piano, and then I eventually picked up the flute, and then now flute is my main instrument. And I'd always like composed when I was younger. I loved writing and like expressing myself through music. But it's a funny story because I started when I have like this like guilty story of how I started composing. And I wrote this little piece, and I was just playing on the piano, and then my brother overheard it. And my brother is 8 years older than me, and he had obviously been playing piano for longer and understood a little bit more about like music theory and all those kinds of things. And he overheard it, and he's like, "Oh, that's really nice, and like maybe we could make it into something like substantial." And then he kind of like beefed up my piece, and then we submitted it to a magazine, and then they published it, but my name was on it, and I always felt so guilty because it's like my first published piece, and it wasn't even mine.
Oh, your brother was your first admirer.
It was so funny, and then I always feel guilty, but it's okay. I'm a composer now, so
Yeah, so that's okay. He was the first one to ever support you.
I know he saw it in me.
But
But yeah, exactly. But yeah, I always loved composing, and then when I went to college, I did a double major in my undergrad. So I did my undergrad at University of Michigan, and I grew up also around like near Detroit, so it was pretty close to home. And for my undergrad, I ended up doing a double major in composition and engineering, and chemical engineering. And I was a flute player, and I played in the flute studio at Michigan, and I performed a lot, and I really love performing because I think it informs the way I write. And I think, you know, when you just see things from a different perspective, and like I can imagine myself if I were playing my piece or playing Z song, that like, okay, I need to like really embody this character. It's so funny actually, when I was writing that in my lessons, like my professor and I would both like just like make squawks and like crazy noises like in my lesson.
I wish I could see that lesson.
I know. I should have like taped it. It would have been so perfect. But yeah, and you know, it's interesting because like engineering and composition don't seem like they have much overlap, but I think I'm happy I did both of them because I think it changes the way I think, especially when I write. I'm like very, um, I think like social issues and like things going around in the world are always really important to me. And I think like being an engineer, like you kind of have to see that side and like because you're interacting with your community so much and like to make things. And like as a musician, like I know like emotion is so important and like that side is really special to me. So I think like it definitely changes the way I write, having both perspectives. Yeah, and then now I actually just recently moved to LA. I'm starting my master's at University of Southern California, and it's nice and sunny here. But yeah, no, I just started here, and I'm teaching a little bit here also, and it's great.
Nice.
And yeah, in terms of traveling, yeah, I've been having performances around near, especially New York. I've been going quite a bit there, but yeah, it's fun.
So you're a flutist, you're a pianist, but we can just stick to the flute part for today. I'm really curious to find out how having mastery over the flute as an instrument has informed your compositional process. And what is it that you find challenging when you compose for an instrument?
Yeah, so I've been a flutist for quite a while, since I was in sixth grade. And I mean, I love the flute because, you know, it's your own breath, it's your own like air coming from inside you that is so special, in a way that I think other instruments, like, I don't know, piano or violin or percussion or something, like I don't like, of course those feel like, and they're in the hand and they do feel connected, but I feel like by being a flutist, you know, it's coming from within you, your own breath, and that's such a, it's like your own spirit in the flute, which is such a special thing. um and I mean, I love performing. I think that, being just in general, being a performer really influences like your own writing a lot. And it's not just like seeing it from a performer's perspective. It's just, it's like on another level. It's like, you know, you're putting, when you have a piece in front of a performer, you're like putting them in positions that like either could be challenging or like, you know, strain them, and you have to understand like, oh, I want this to like stretch this way, or I want this to like flow like this. And like really understanding, like my old professor used to call it like this tension and release of just like performing, and like understanding that when you have like a score in front of somebody and it's like your music, it's not just like notes on a page, it's that you're forcing your performer to like incorporate all these movements and all these emotional spaces like in their own playing, and putting them in a real like position that's different than what their normal life is like. And in terms of writing for the flute, I think writing for the flute has, or being a flute player has really informed, my sense of line, because I think that's something that the flute does so well. Is just, you know, because it's your own breath. It's just, everything has direction and flow, and in a way that's like, I think, pretty unique to the flute. But what is challenging is that, it's a monophonic instrument. You know, it's only one line. And I mean, you can try like singing and playing or doing multiphonics, but you know, it's still really basically a monophonic instrument. And sometimes it's hard when we write for like so single line instruments like that, because you know, we want to make it like have this built-in counterpoint or built-in like harmony or something like that, which is not always, especially like with a solo piece, that sometimes it's really difficult. And the other thing is, I think when I know, like the rep so well of the flute, and I've played a lot of the rep, and of course anything I play will inform whatever I write. And sometimes I'm worried that, oh no, does this sound too much like Nielsen Concerto or something, like, does this sound too much like something like that? I don't think Z Song sounds anything like a Nielsen Concerto. But it's interesting because sometimes I would always worry, like, uh-oh, like, is this gonna sound like an etude or something that I have to play for my lesson? Like, I don't want it to sound like something I've played before. I want it to sound like something
I
new.
still want to dream. 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 Like a chicken.